Every one of these traps has ended a game in under 15 moves. Some are so simple, a beginner can spring them today. Others are so vicious that even rated players walk straight into them and lose on the spot. I've ranked all 8 from the easiest to pull off to the single most deadly. And by the end you'll know exactly how to set every one of them and how to never fall for them again. Most players don't make it past number 5 without getting caught. Let's see how far you get. Here's why opening traps matter more than almost anything else at the beginner and intermediate level. You can study endgames for months, you can memorize theory for hours, but most games under 1500 are not decided in the endgame. They're decided in the first 10 moves, when somebody grabs a free piece or walks into a checkmate they never saw coming. A single trap can win you the game before your opponent has even finished developing. And the beautiful part? These traps come from completely normal-looking openings. Nothing about them screams danger. Your opponent thinks they're playing a quiet game. They grab what looks like a free pawn or a free piece, and the trap snaps shut. We're going from the gentle ones you can spring against your friends tonight, all the way up to pure, calculated chaos. Number 1. The Englund Gambit. Your opponent opens with d4, and you answer e5, the Englund Gambit, an aggressive surprise most d4 players have never prepared for. White captures your pawn, and you play knight c6, immediately attacking it. White defends with knight f3. Now you play queen e7, piling more pressure on that pawn. White defends again with bishop f4, and here's the move that does it, queen b4. One quiet-looking move that forks the king, the bishop, and the b2 pawn all at once. White scrambles with bishop d2 to block the check. You grab the b2 pawn, now hitting the rook. White plays the natural-looking bishop c3, attacking your queen and defending the rook, and they have no idea the game is already over. You play bishop b4, pinning their bishop to the king. White plays queen d2 to break the pin. They recapture. Everything looks fine. But queen c8 is checkmate. Game over from a d4 opening. The Danish Gambit. You open e4, your opponent plays e5, and you push d4, the Danish Gambit. They take the pawn, you play c3, they take again, and you still don't recapture. Instead, bishop c4, offering a third pawn. They take on b2, and you recapture with your dark-squared bishop. You've given up 2 pawns, but look at the position. 2 bishops raking across the board, every piece active, and your opponent miles behind in development. At lower levels, this is terrifying to defend. The cleanest finish, black plays d6, you develop knight f3, they play knight f6, you castle. Black pins your knight with bishop g4. They feel great, up 2 pawns catching up, then you play e5. Black doesn't want to retreat, so they grab the pawn. Bishop takes f7, dragging the king out. Black plays king e7, dodging the obvious trap and thinks they're safe. But your other bishop swings to a3. 2 bishops surround the king with no escape. Black has to give up the queen, the Budapest Gambit. d4, knight f6, c4, e5, the Budapest. White grabs the pawn, you play knight g4 to attack it, and white defends with knight f3. You play d8, pieces get traded in the center. White develops knight c3, you play knight c6. White attacks your queen with bishop g5, you push f6 to chase it away, and the bishop retreats to d2. Everything looks completely normal. Both sides developed, nothing suspicious. Now you play knight e5, getting aggressive. White feels the pressure, doesn't want to trade, and plays h3 to kick your knight on g4. You respond with the quiet queen e7. White looks at the board, sees the knight on g4 just hanging there for free, and takes it. Pause it right here. Can you see the punch? You play knight d3. That's checkmate. The whole point of queen e7 was to pin the e2 pawn to the king so it can't capture the knight on d3. The g4 knight was never the threat. It was bait the entire time. The fishing pole. This one comes from the Ruy Lopez. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, castle. Black plays knight g4, a move that doesn't obviously threaten anything but makes white uneasy. White plays h3 to kick it away, and here black does something that looks insane. h5, just offering the knight for free. White takes it, black takes back with the pawn, and now the h-file is ripped wide open, pointing straight at white's castled king. White's knight on f3 is under pressure and has to move, and both squares lose. Black plays queen h4, and there's a devastating mate threat white can barely answer. Push the f-pawn for an escape square, and it runs into g3. Try to give back a whole rook to survive, and the position is still completely lost. White took what looked like a free knight and got mated for it. This is where it stops being beginner stuff. The next four don't just win material, they end the game on the spot. Keep counting how many you'd actually fall for. Legal's mate. One of the most satisfying checkmates in all of chess, and it hides inside totally normal moves. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, d6, knight c3. 7 completely natural moves, and nothing suspicious. Your opponent plays bishop g4, pinning your knight to your queen. You nudge it with h3, they hold the pin with bishop h5. And now, knight takes e5. Your knight sits in the middle of the board, undefended, and your queen is still pinned. Your opponent looks, sees your queen just sitting there for the taking, and grabs it. Who wouldn't? You play bishop f7 check. The king is forced to e7. Then knight d5. Check again. The king looks for an escape square. There isn't one. 2 knights and a bishop have just delivered checkmate while your queen sits captured on the board. That's Legal's mate. The trap where losing your queen is the whole point. The fried liver attack. This starts as the Italian. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. Most players develop the bishop here and the game is normal, but some, especially at lower ratings, play knight f6. And if black doesn't know the theory, this gets dangerous fast. You play knight g5, and now 2 pieces stare at the f7 pawn. Black's only real move is d5 to block your bishop. You take the pawn. The safe defense is knight a5, stepping out of the mess, but most players naturally recapture with the knight, thinking it's just a trade. That's where it explodes. You play knight takes f7, forking the queen and rook. Black has to take. Now queen f3 check, forking the king and the knight. Pause. Where should black's king go? The worst move, and so many people play it, is king g8, tucking into the corner, thinking it's safe. Queen takes d5, then bishop takes d5, a rare solo bishop checkmate. The king ran straight into a wall, the ICBM. The name stands for Intercontinental Ballistic Missile, and you're about to see why. Knight f3, d5. You push e4, they take, and your knight goes all the way to g5, eyeing the e4 pawn. They defend with knight f6, you play d3, they trade the pawn off, you recapture with the bishop. 2 active pieces now point at the king's side, and the d-file is wide open. Your opponent gets nervous and plays h6 to kick the knight, and walks straight into the missile. You play knight takes f7, throwing the knight into their position. They take it. It's a free piece. Then bishop g6 check. The king has to take it. And now your queen has a completely open diagonal running across the entire board, pointed directly at their queen with nothing in between. You slide your queen the full length of the board and pick up their queen like it was always yours. And the last one is pure madness. Sacrifice after sacrifice until a single pawn delivers the final blow. The Alien Gambit. The deadliest on the list, built entirely around chaos. It starts as a caro-can. e4, c6, d4, d5, knight c3, takes on e4, takes back, knight f6, knight g5, h6, knight takes f7, king takes f7. White just sacrificed a knight to rip the black king out into the open. You play knight f3. If black tries to pin with bishop g4, it loses on the spot to knight e5 check, forking the king and winning it back. So black plays bishop f5. You play knight e5 check, the king runs to g8, and you check again with bishop c4. Black blocks with e6 and finally breathes. Still up a piece, thinking the worst is over. You play g4, hitting the bishop. Black plays bishop e4, hitting your rook, but that bishop just abandoned the e6 pawn. So bishop takes e6 check. King runs to h7. And now g5. It looks quiet, but it's overwhelming. Black grabs your rook in the corner, feeling rich. Mate in one here. Can you spot it? Malsauch. G6. A pawn delivers checkmate. Black won a rook and got mated by a pawn. So there it is. 8 opening traps, ranked from the gentle Englund all the way up to the absolute chaos of the Alien Gambit. The easy ones you can spring on your friends tonight. The deadly ones take nerve, calculation, and an opponent greedy enough to take the bait, which, let's be honest, is most of us. Here's the real question. How far did you get before you hit one you'd have walked straight into? Be honest. Drop the number in the comments, 1 through 8, and tell me which trap caught you. And if there's a deadly trap I left off this list, put it down below, because there's always one more lurking in an opening you thought was safe. If this leveled up your game, subscribe. The next ranking is already loading. Now go set a trap.